All right, we're back with another episode of The Crucible with Jeff Marshall. This time we have a guest, Dr. Dillard Elmore. I appreciate you coming, brother. It's a pleasure.
Should I call you Esquire or something?
Nah, we don't need to. It's funny for me to even call you Dr. Dillard Elmore, but that is what the work you have done has earned you. I'm going to call you that. You don't need to call me Esquire. It took me a long time to get out of that. People who've watched my Crucible moment know that. But what I'm going to do first, man, is I'm going to read your bio, just so our listeners, our viewers, any folks who are tuning in get a chance to know you just a little bit better before we kind of get into your Crucible moment.
Sounds good.
So Dr. Dillard F. Elmore is a healthcare executive and physician leader specializing in value-based care, clinical strategy, and healthcare administration. With leadership roles as a chief medical officer, senior VP, and chief clinical officer, he bridges high-level administration and frontline patient care. He's a board-certified physician in geriatrics and family medicine, and Dr. Elmore has helped shape healthcare delivery models, optimized operations, and strengthened physician pipelines. His leadership has improved financial performance, regulatory compliance, and patient outcomes across senior living communities, correctional health care, and value-based primary care. As a travel physician at Corona Health, he ensures seamless integration into new markets. Previously, as a regional chief clinical officer and a regional medical director at dedicated ChenMed, he developed physician talent, reduced turnover, and led Pennsylvania to top enterprise performance. As a statewide medical director for WellPath in Georgia, he oversaw clinical operations across 60 facilities, enhancing provider engagement and outcomes. Dr. Elmore has been featured on CBS News for Elder Care Insights and has presented at national conferences on value-based care. He collaborates with the congressional leaders to advance equitable health care policies. He holds a Doctor of Osteopathic Medicine from New York College of Osteopathic Medicine and an MBA from NYU Stern. A certified medical director, he served on a number of boards, but one including AMDA, the Society for Post-Acute and Long-Term Care Medicine. Doctors use a lot of long words.
Oh, you're doing good.
And the Pennsylvania Society taught me how to read. And the Pennsylvania Society for Post-Acute and Long-Term Care Medicine. Dr. Elmore drives innovative care models that improve patient outcomes, lower cost, and enhance provider engagement. But more importantly than that, Dr. Elmore has a story to share. This is The Crucible, and this is Dr. Dillard Elmore.
Hey,
Yo,
thanks for
welcome.
having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate being on this. And I just say to the audience, when I met, Jeff, one of the things that bonded us immediately was our conversation about our failures.
Yeah.
A lot of times you meet people who've had some success and they just want to talk about, I did this and then I walked on water and and Jeff and I went straight to our failures, just straight to the failures.
Conversation number one.
Conversation number one, failures. And the importance of that, and I love what you're doing, man, because you can learn more from me by the mistakes I made.
Absolutely.
My successes, that's great. Success is good, I got there. But the story of all those humbling moments is huge. As you know, I was not one of those kids who just was a savant and excellent education. Always had some decent IQ, but no real focus. I pretty much, through college, self-sabotage.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't believe, I wanted to be a physician because that was one of the paths to get out of my situation, being, poverty, living in New York City. But I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know what it meant to become a physician. I didn't even know what college was. I mean, I totally started on the ground floor, just like it's discovery, So when I got into college, I basically self-sabotaged because I was afraid that if I really studied and I failed, it just mean I wasn't smart enough.
Yeah.
Whereas if I goofed off, I could always, give an excuse.
Yeah.
To
I
my
wasn't even
failures.
trying. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If I would have just read a book, but I didn't even pick it up. So, so something happened to me on my during my college years where my one of my professors we had dinner together. He was living on the in the dorms with the students, and would do dinner. And we just spoke about the upcoming examination that I did not study for. And I wound up getting a B minus, which was a great plus. It was one of the harder, biological study classes. And since then I was like, wow, maybe I could do this. Problem was, it was the last semester of my junior year. So
A little late.
A little
late.
So, eventually I didn't get into medical school straight up. I wound up becoming a barber in Harlem with my brother. And, this was an interesting time because I went away. I was going to be the one that made it, that was able to become a doctor. And I came back as the guy that could give you a nice fade, trim you up, make you looking nice and everything. I was in Harlem, but the beauty of it was I was also close to City College of New York.
Okay.
So I could study with my new faith in myself and my ability, and that pretty much if you work hard and you study hard, you could, excel. And, it was an interesting time. It took, it's kind of like, my years in the desert of discovery of how to organize myself, how to study, how to excel. And, eventually, I met a lot of good people. I met individuals who were already in medical school who were around my age. And, it just seemed really weird, even though I had more faith in myself as this barber in Harlem that I could actually get into medical school. It was dealing with the outside noise.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Dude, you still trying to do that? You're still trying to get into medical school, and just the look of kind of pity.
And it probably wasn't even that nice, right? Like it's a barbershop, right? So, and you're telling people you want to be a doctor, or you're going to be a doctor, and they're telling you, okay, just tighten it up.
Well, that was, so that I had, there was a few medical students at Mount Sinai who would come get their hair cut by me. And I was like, hey, man, so how's it? How's medical school? And they said, it's good and this and that. And I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to apply. I'm going to be a doctor.
That's wild.
And they just look at me and like, yeah, just take a little bit more off the side. So, which was funny because eventually the story turns out that I actually did get into medical school, and I actually did pretty well. Yeah. And I would still come back from medical school and cut hair during the summers, and I'd see some of them. So it was funny.
Oh man, that's wild. That's a you talk about a moment like, oh yeah, what do you say now? Did you mess any of their haircuts up? No, okay,
I was still nice.
Okay,
I was still nice.
Okay, yeah. So yeah,
most of them started balding anyways.
That's your right. That might be a side effect of medical school.
Hey, listen, you grow up poor. You always want to keep every skill you have sharp.
This is true. That is very true. So in those moments, man, like when you're, I love that you had some self-reflection, or you gained the confidence at the end of your undergrad career. How did you maintain that confidence being in those spaces where, the doubt was just kind of prevalent, right? The people that, whose hair you're cutting, or, you're trying to start a conversation with them, or even the other barbers, what have you, your family members, like, oh man, you went away to school and you came back to this. How did you maintain that confidence in that time?
Sometimes you just need a spark, right? That conversation I had with that professor, and me finally able to get real talk from a D. I was rocking a D, everybody, on all my science classes, to a B minus with just 4 days before the examination, a conversation, with this professor. I kind of was pissed off with myself.
Yeah.
And so
imagine.
there was a lot of like, wow, I really squandered these past 3 years in college. You know, I later did pretty decently on the MCATs, that's the medical school aptitude test, but I reverted back to self-sabotaging with that. But what I realized, it was basic, right? Study. Study well in advance, right? Take notes. Read your books, right? And if you can't afford the book, get a nice, I'm not getting in trouble, but photocopiers help. But it was studying and discipline. And the biggest crucible for me is learning how to be disciplined and drown out the noise. You know, I'm seriously, I had people close to me, you know, close friends, close relatives, and they would tell me, hey man, seriously, when are you gonna give this up? This is not gonna happen. This is a very unrealistic dream that you have. I mean, it's commendable that you have this dream and you stuck with it for this long, but it's time. And but I felt I was onto something. I felt that, you know, in grad school, my GPA, which I had to do some significant rehab. Remember, young people out there, you know, prevention is better than cure. Because I had to spend my time at City College of New York curing the past ills of my poor GPA from undergrad. But I felt I was on to a tangible path. I felt that I know I was getting a little older. I knew that I can study. I knew I could get the MCAT scores that would get me in. But I also knew that as an older student, which sounds crazy at this time, I didn't get into medical school until I was 27 years old. By medical standards, school standards, that's, man, you're primitive.
Senior citizen.
Yeah, you really are. But I knew that I had to make connections with individuals at different schools who were in admissions, or see who I could develop some sort of kinship with. So I had a path. It's going to have to be personal. I'm going to have to put a lot of sweat equity in it. And I'm probably going to have to make a connection with someone at the targeted schools, because I didn't have enough money to just apply to every school. I mean, I'm dealing on a very tight budget.
Oh man, that's interesting. First of all, I love that. I mean, that was a life lesson in and of itself. Like, prevention is better than, you know, care. Yeah, that was, because I thought, I mean, you were talking about medical, but you were talking about life. Like, and when you, so that is a nugget, man.
That track record I made in college made no one believe in me.
Oh wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So I had there was no faith that I could actually do this.
Do the thing, yeah.
So I had to really, you know, I wish I would have gone back, if in retrospect, gotten some tutors and things of that nature. But, you know, it made me humble.
Yeah. No, and I mean, that's the thing, is that this was the path you had to go on. No one else could go on this path. It was uniquely yours. And so, and that's kind of, that is the beauty of the thing, is being able to look back and go, all right, well, there was a lesson there that was specifically for me, right? I have the smarts, the IQ, but if it's unapplied, what's the point?
Taking it further, I then get into medical school, and it's like, the pearly gates have opened. I'm in. I'm in, right? I'm in medical school, but I'm a lone wolf. I'm a lone wolf, right? I am basically intellectual horsepower, study by yourself, just go it alone, right? I could do this, right? Man, that was the hardest thing I've ever done. Medical school was rough. My first year, you know, have to admit it, I almost flunked out. And so now I went from being the barber who finally did it.
Oh man.
Finally get kicked out. You know?
Yeah, that's tough, man.
Man, you know.
You could have never went back.
Oh my Lord. Well, medical schools don't tend to let you back. Well, I
couldn't have never went back home.
Yeah, I couldn't have gone back to that barbershop. They found me in another borough cutting hair with my white lab coat. But you know, I was solo in I didn't realize that, one of the things that helped me through that second Crucible moment. So I'm glad you should have named it for me, Crucible Moments.
We'll rename it. We'll title yours that.
Crucible Moments.
And then we'll do it to be continued.
So I remember I took like my first set of examinations in medical school, and it was like, whoa, I did really bad.
Oh, man.
I did really bad. Now, unfortunately, there were other people who did bad, but I went straight to, the counselor office and everything. And I remember, and I'd have no shame with this, I get off the elevator and I see someone who was like involved with the tutoring office or whatever to help you with that. And she says, "What's wrong, Dill?" And I just started crying. Wow. Because think about it. I spent all these years trying to get into medical school, right? It's became my identity, the kid who's trying to get into medical school, right? Yeah. That barber who's trying to get into medical school. I finally get it. I have my hands on the golden rings. I studied hard, but I didn't study right.
Wow.
And it was like, what's wrong? And I just broke down crying because I'm thinking I'm a disappointment. I'm going back home if I don't get this correct, but I don't know how to get it correctly because I can't study any harder.
Yeah.
Right? I'm spending like 10 hours a day.
Yeah.
Right? And, she said to me, listen, we'll help you. We'll get people who could help you, support you, tutor you, whatever. And you need to get a study partner. You need to get a study partner because this solo lone wolf stuff ain't gonna work for you, bro. Yeah. It ain't gonna work. And till this day, one of my best friends, Dr. Knight, I'll just leave it at that, man, we were joined by the hips throughout medical school because she studied one way, I studied another way. We could fill in the gaps with one another, but if I didn't have that moment of vulnerability, I know other people that kept that stoic look on their faces. I got this, right? Who aren't physicians right now, who flunked out. And some of the people, unfortunately, I remember looked at me like, man, this guy's really a loser, with all that tears running down his face and everything, showing that vulnerability. But it made me stronger. Yeah. And you can't get help if you don't ask for help.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think, what I've learned, if anything, over the years is that a certain level of vulnerability is necessary. And I mean, and look, it's interesting, the space we're in. Like, it's a condition of being human, right? Like, we have feelings, we have emotions, we go through things, and then we, for some reason, close them all inside, and we don't allow the world to see, for whatever it is, shame or whatever, pride. There's a number of reasons we don't, and I think we just need to kind of lean into that a little bit.
If scientific innovation was based off of every generation doing it on their own, we'd still be recreating the wheel. Yeah, someone would just discovered it just now, right? I mean, the real talk is that intelligence is one thing, but exposure to people who could enhance you, give you a little bit of a shortcut, teach you with the most important things, that's important. Yeah. And since then, I think, my career has been much easier for my ability to say, I don't know it. Yeah. Yep. But show me where to look it up and let's discuss it and grow from those things. But it really has revolutionized for me. And there'll be another Crucible at some 100%.
point.
It's never ending, but
their moments is interesting because sometimes at the time they feel like there's a certain finality, at least you feel to it, and then you recognize once you're through it and you're looking back that it wasn't a final thing. If there was something you wanted folks to take from this conversation, take from your story in particular, what we've heard of your story, what would it be?
Man, faith and support. If you have those things in your life, anything's accomplishable. Mm-hmm. Remember, if you want to do something great, it likely has never been done. And most people who've never seen it get done, they don't have the vision of those possibilities.
Yeah.
So have your own faith, get some support. Once you achieve that goal, it becomes easier for other people.
Yeah.
The path has been laid. But if you're going to be a trailblazer in your family, anywhere, expect to hear some noise. Expect to hear some people that may not believe in you because they just haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Right? So have that, have some faith, whatever faith system you're dealing with, have that, deal with some optimism, get rid of naysayers, you know, I'm not saying necessarily shun them, but get rid of the noise.
Yeah.
Once you do it, then they'll become believers easily.
That's true. Yeah, no, that's true. So I knew you could do it. No, you did.
I always believed in you, man.
Look, man, I appreciate that. I'll say this before I close. I had an aunt when I graduated from college. I graduated in May, and I talked to her, I think for the first time, it was July. And she said to me, she called my house for my mom, and I picked up. And she said, what are you doing home, whatever? And I said, home, I'm out of school, I'm looking for a job. She said, you still looking, you just need to go work at McDonald's. And I said, I just got a college degree, man. And I just was like, here's my mom.
You'll be a general manager by now, though.
Yeah, 100%. But and I say all that to say, it's the ones that are closest to you, man. They sometimes they'll naysay you, and I like what you said, and I'm going to paraphrase it and say, get yourself some noise-canceling headphones in one of those moments, and keep pushing through. And
when you get success, take those noise-canceling headphones off.
Yeah.
For people who will tell you you're not so great. Yeah. You need to.
That is absolutely true.
You need to correct.
Absolutely. I love that, man. I appreciate you coming, man.
My man.
Yeah. That's been a word from Dr. Dillard Elmore on The Crucible with Jeff Marshall. Continue to tune in. We'll continue to bring you more great content. But if you're in one of those moments, put those headphones on. If you exit, and when you exit that moment and you start achieving, take those headphones off, because that noise is a different type of noise. Until next time, be well, be safe, and take care.
Thanks so much for watching this episode of The Crucible with Jeff Marshall. If you would like to be a guest on the program, let's be in touch. And be sure to stay connected with us through your favorite platforms. The Crucible with Jeff Marshall is part of the A Live Podcast Network and can be found in audio-only format wherever you listen to your podcasts. Production of this project was created by Gifted Entertainment, a full-service creative video production company.